One of the major issues that people have in regards to digital goods is the fact that people don't really own those digital goods. If you buy a subscription to a streaming service, you are bound by the streaming service's rules and regulations and content. If you buy a video game, you are bound to the store's rules and regulations. So if any of these companies think that you're bad, there's a good chance that they might ban your account. And once you're banned, hundreds if not thousands of dollars you spent on your games are absolutely wasted. Not to mention, there's the issue of platforms just arbitrarily censoring games to adhere to their own dumb rules. We talked about that a while back. If you ask me, if you want a true ownership of a digital item, you're gonna need to have a soft copy of the item in the hard drive. Movies or TV shows that you either ripped or grabbed from the 7 Seas, video games where you get the installers of the games or the ROMs of the games, and of course pictures where you actually have the pictures saved on your drive. That, in my opinion, is true digital ownership, having the local files of those stuff inside your computer and accessible in your computer. But of course, if you want that kind of ownership, you must know how to right-click and save and sail the 7 Seas. I already have a quick guide for that in case you're interested. But what if you take the concept of digital ownership and make them even more infuriatingly restrictive? Enter non-fungible tokens, or NFTs. Now, I'm not gonna explain NFTs in the context of those digital ugly JPEGs that people with way too much disposable income love to spend their hard-earned money on, even if the money that they have aren't actually disposable and they genuinely need those money to sustain their actual lives because these people have poorer financial decisions than your average popular Twitch streamer. I think most of you already know how you shouldn't spend thousands if not millions of dollars just for a digital JPEG, especially when one of the most famous providers of it got scammed from millions of dollars. So instead, I'm gonna explain it in a video game context because I love video games and I hate things that ruin video games. And it seems that a lot of game developers and publishers these days are going to implement NFTs into video games the same way EA implements micropayments in their video games and Asian game developers and publishers implement loot boxes and gachas in their video games and turn it into a money-making virtual casino. But hey, as long as it makes money to the publishers, it doesn't really matter if it screws the customers in the process. Right? Now, in the context of video games, with the promise of NFTs, instead of owning digital JPEGs, you own digital items. Not only that you own those digital items, you can sell those digital items and buy those digital items. You can even use those digital items in other games within the blockchain. But wait a second, I thought we can already do that in video games without the needs of NFTs and blockchains. Not all games for sure, but some games have shown that it is possible. So why do we need NFTs? You see, making the items NFTs sound a lot more futuristic, and it's gonna be super expensive, and you're gonna need to use currencies that are generated with way too much power. You're gonna need currencies generated with the one contributing factor in why gaming GPUs these days are incredibly expensive. Did you know that the Spanish authorities discover an illegal crypto mining farm instead of a marijuana plantation because they're using an abnormal and not to mention illegal amount of electricity? Give your thanks to these crypto bros and why GPU prices are skyrocketing lately. It's getting better nowadays, but we went through some seriously dark times. That still won't stop video game companies from trying to get to the whole ecosystem. Square Enix once again continues to be a garbage game company that just so happened to make some good games. Just this year, they expressed their interest into the metaverse by bringing new technologies that can reward players that generate content with NFTs and cryptos. Yeah, as if players who generate content in games want to be rewarded with such a thing. My favorite moment in that announcement is that when they suggest that some players play to have fun. Some players, Square Enix. Yeah, only some players play games for fun, not, all of them. You can clearly tell this is written by the company's executives who clearly don't play video games, and that's where the industry is leading. The business side of gaming is not led by the gamers, but by boomer businessmen who care more about getting a new yacht for one of their private islands. Konami jumped into the gun because, of course they did, that's what they always do. Troy Baker initially attempted to get himself into the fray before getting massive amounts of backlash after they found out that the company that he made a deal with actually stole assets from other things. And of course, there's Ubisoft with its Ubisoft quartz thing. We push back against that, both with our voice and with our wallets, because not a lot of people bought this garbage. What's amazing is that Ubisoft's implementation of NFT is completely incongruent to the spirit of crypto, which is immutable and decentralized. Ubisoft's NFTs are mutable by the corporations and centralized to the Ubisoft's ecosystem. It's like if Ford makes an electric car in an effort to save the environment, but the car zaps any plants on site. Game companies like Ubisoft and Square are interested with the idea of metaverses and NFTs for one specific reason: money. What they heard is that through the use of NFTs, players can trade and sell and buy in-game items, and they want a cut of that share. You don't have to hear it from me. You can hear it straight from one of the Ubisoft's exec, who also say that we just don't get it. The end game is about giving players the opportunity to resell their items once they're finished with them or they're finished playing the game itself. There are so many things wrong with that statement. First off, if players are done playing the games, then the value of the items aren't gonna be as good as if they're still playing the games, right? Second, this is a pay-to-win nightmare. Even if there are a few players that are interested in the game after most of them already quit, it's going to completely ruin the balance of the game if these players can just buy these items and skip to the next one. As I said previously, they're not doing it for your interests. They're doing it for their own. They provide service where players can make money, but service providers will require a fee to run the service. Ubisoft will take the cut for every transaction you make, and if they say they don't, they're lying. It's like that time where Microsoft is trying to charge people for trading used copies of games on Xbox One. They can't just let players make money through their products, they also have to get a share of their cut. It's amazing. It's like sales tax, but for private businesses, which is ironic considering how a lot of big executives would rather avoid paying taxes, but if the tax sales system benefits them, it's perfectly fine to do so. We as players decide to push back against this because we as players don't like to have one more method for game companies to screw us over. But hey, we just don't get it. You know what? I suppose it's true. We don't actually get an NFT in our hands, and a bunch of NFT bros are gonna be like, you don't have NFTs, then you don't understand NFTs. You do realize that you don't have to physically burn money into a crisp to understand how bad of a decision that is. Maybe we need some other guy who can explain why this entire thing is absolutely botched. Maybe some guy who is utterly disgraced with a past event and will continue to be disgraced if he keeps on piling L's after L's. Welcome, Dean Takahashi. You know Dean, the guy who screwed up the Cuphead tutorial. Yeah, that's him, and he's here shilling NFTs to people. In one of my ABB episodes, stream channel, link down below, go subscribe, Dean published an article where he talked about a study that says 56% of gamers are interested in earning NFTs in games. Really? 56% of gamers, Dean! Did you grab those numbers out of your clan's butt after the massive wreck from that tutorial level? The study consists of 1,500 consoles and PC gamers. The amount is drawn from 24,000 players. When asked about NFTs, about 5,000 of the responses are positive. That's not around half of the players, that's around a fifth. GamesBeat, the outlet that he's working on, is also shilling for NFTs in the form of this article over here. Gamers are ready for NFTs, whether they know it or not. Oh, we do know it, alright. We're ready for NFTs. As in, we're ready to reject them and kick them off to the bottomless pit. The promise of NFTs is to move power and ownership in the metaverse away from big tech corporations and back to the individuals as... Yeah, as if game companies are gonna let you do that. Game companies would never ever let their consumers to fully own any digital item. It has to be verified to their servers, verified to their accounts. And if the game companies think your account is worthy of a ban, they're gonna ban them straight up. And all of the digital items that you bought with your money are completely lost in the void. These are private corporations. They can do whatever they want, including taking away digital items that you bought with your own hard-earned cash. In today's gaming landscape, players either spend money on substantial amount of time on acquiring virtual goods that are only effectively rented from a game maker with no real-world value or possibility of existing outside the confines of that world. And there's nothing wrong with that. Digital items in games should remain digital items in games. Unlike the out-of-touch suits and the executives of these big game companies, we play games for fun. If we want to make money off of video games, we'd be a streamer or a content creator. Not everything that we do in life needs to have some form of financial return. It's this insane business grind mindset that prevents us from having any sorts of recreational fun because gaming companies only care about making money. And besides, trading digital items from games in real life is nothing new. A lot of MMO players are already doing that. The thing is, doing so will lead to a lot of pay-to-win situations, and for those of you who don't speak gaming, that's a scenario where players who have the most money, players who have the most disposable income, players who have access to their parents' credit cards, they're the ones who are winning games, and not the players that have the most skill or talent. It's like football, but instead of the players actually competing, it's the sponsors competing on who can spend the most money on a team. Now that I think about it, I totally understand why a Scrub Game Journal like Dean thinks that NFT is a good idea in video games. It's been proven that being a game journal is a lot more profitable than your typical blue-collar works. So instead of actually spending some time to learn the skills and how to overcome the games, they'd rather just pay extra money for overpowered digital items so that they can easily crush the skilled players with little to no effort. So it's no surprise that the guy who is known for being horrendous at video games is endorsing an idea where he can pay lots and lots of money for in-game items to stop being horrendous at video games. But hey, that's just my wild speculation. Maybe he really is into this whole NFT thing because it's the future. We can read all about that in his own article from February last year, where the discussion of NFTs are still pretty fresh in a lot of people's minds, and just goes to show you how long he's been shilling for this stuff. Dean explains that people were talking about NFTs, and like everyone else around the room, my eyes just glaze over anything else that are infinitely more interesting. But don't worry, this is gonna be the next big thing in gaming, just like Elon Musk's endorsement or the GameStop debacle. We're gonna paint this new thing just like that, even if it's not. If you remember, many industry people mocked mobile games a decade ago before in-app purchases. Stop right there. We still do. Don't know why the gaming industry is mocking mobile games in terms of the money-making side, because mobile games are very accessible and incredibly profitable. But from a gamer's perspective, we're still mocking them even to this day. And that's precisely because a lot of them, even to this day, are free-to-play garbage. The only mobile gamers that are among my community are the ones that hunt for JPEGs of their favorite anime waifus by spending lots of either in-game or real-life money just to make sure that their next pull actually grants them what they want. But hey, that's gacha life for you. The writer has this guy interviewed where he compared the rising popularity of NFTs to the early days of the iPhone. Yeah, well, there's a big difference between the early days of the iPhone and NFTs. Namely that an iPhone is a functioning device that can actually work to help people to suit their needs. NFTs, on the other hand, are just digital tokens that can prove that you own a digital item. At least an iPhone costs less than $5,000. And I don't even like iPhones. And then there's this segment in the article. Gaming is gonna be big. People spend a lot of money in games. When they quit a game, that money is gone. Your investment is gone. It doesn't mean anything. Yeah. And I don't really see why that's a big problem. That's pretty much to be expected. You don't buy games because you expect them to return your investment. You buy games because those games are fun. It's not really that hard to comprehend that people don't play video games to earn money, but we are talking to people who don't play video games, so how would they know about it? So if people are willing to spend that kind of money in something where if they stop logging in, it has no value, what happens when, if they stop logging in, they sell what they bought? It will change the whole nature of video games. It won't be spending anymore, it will be investing. So it totally changes everything. Okay, first off, it doesn't really change anything. We've had games where we can trade in-game items for decades, and we don't need NFT technology to do that. Not to mention, the corporations don't actually let you to fully own the digital items that you earn from the games, and even if they move the whole ecosystem to the NFTs, as proven by the Ubisoft debacle, it will still be a mutable and centralized platform, which defeats the purpose of them being NFTs to begin with. And secondly, what are you going to trade? Most video games are digital copies nowadays, and most online distributors don't let their customers to resell their digital copies of their games to their customers. So if it's not trading whole games, maybe you're trading in-game items, right? But as I said before, that introduces a huge can of worms, particularly pay to win. Even if the digital items are merely cosmetics, you don't really need NFTs to trade them. CSGO already does this without the needs of the items being NFTs. It doesn't really change anything for the gaming industry, it just introduces even more inconvenient technology. So even after all of that, I am still not sold with the idea of NFTs being in video games. Most of the features that NFTs promise to be in games are features that have already existed among the video game industry and have existed for decades. And these features aren't the most promising either. They just don't sound as exciting as people make it out to be. Selling and buying in-game items, transferring them from one game to another, not only that has been done, there are myriads of issues that will come from doing just all of that. But hey, it doesn't really matter because these people who are promoting this sort of stuff are never really interested in making good games. These people are businessmen, investors, executives, or people pretending to be all of those things, even if they don't have enough money in their wallets to warrant those titles. These people are here for their own personal profits and personal gain, even if they have to sacrifice their money in the process because they're the greater fool in this lineup. What's more illuminating is Dean's recent article where he interviewed Ryan Wyatt, the chief of YouTube Gaming, to build a blockchain platform at Polygon, the blockchain gaming studio, not the gaming news outlet. He started the article straight up glorifying blockchain gaming as the next free-to-play, and in the next sentence, he mocked the hardcore gamers for digging in their heels in the opposition for blockchain games. That's because we already see blockchain games and they're not very promising, mostly because they prioritize play to earn or P2E rather than play to fun. He tries to convince everyone in the next part that blockchain gaming is the real future, guys. Just look at these people who joined in. One of them is Peter Molyneux, aka the original Todd Howard, the consummate liar and snake oil salesman of the video game industry that overglorifies and overpromises the games that he developed. You know you're out of touch when you have to brag about how your brand new technology is also endorsed by a well-known liar. Gamers might not be cryptos and NFT fans, but investors clearly are. There you have it, ladies and gentlemen. That's how they can ruin gaming. It's gaming designed for investors rather than gamers. It's gaming designed for people with way too much disposable income rather than for people who want to, have fun. How appropriate that Dean would endorse pay-to-win garbage like this because pay-to-win is the only way that Dean can win. The rest of the article goes into the Q&A with Ryan. You can read it all you want in the description. I just want to highlight this one final part from Dean. In one of the questions, Dean described the detractors for NFTs and cryptos as weird haters. Weird haters, huh? It's apparently weird to reject more ways for game companies to screw the consumers over. He even admits that he doesn't really know who these people are. I mean, who are these Ubisoft haters? Me, Dean. I am one of the Ubisoft haters, and I've already explained that for multiple reasons in this video for your benefit. So to conclude this video, let me show you a couple of tweets from Polygon's former editor-in-chief, Ben Kuchera, the gaming outlet this time, not the blockchain game Polygon. This guy has a really shady history of unethical reporting, and even he had to call out Dean Takahashi precisely for the NFT Shilling. That's right, even Ben Kuchera had to disown Dean Takahashi. That's how bad he is. Even he has to admit that there's an underlying corruption within game journalism, but only the moment where the NFT shills are actually taking over the platforms. At the end of the day, while NFT is a promising technology, please don't be fooled by any of these NFT bros and crypto bros. Please be skeptical of their claims and please don't take their words for it. So far, the idea of implementing cryptos and NFTs in games are things that have already been implemented in games in the past. Game companies just don't implement them because it's something that players don't really want and something that is actually tough to implement. And to those who seriously think that these game companies are working for your best interest by having these NFTs, just remember, if your Steam account gets banned, hundreds of thousands of dollars that you spent on that account will be gone as well. If Netflix decides that a movie is way too much for the platform, they're gonna ban it off of the platform. If Sony decides that a game is way too gory, they're going to censor it. It's something that these private corporations have the right to do, and y'all consumers just have to accept it, like a good little sheep that you are. That's all for the video today. If you like it, you can go ahead and click the like button and subscribe for more. If you wish, you can go ahead and click the like button and subscribe for more. Stream channel link down below. Go subscribe, and thanks for watching.